Psychos and sickos unite for a playoffs or bust edition of the PHNX Suns show. Of course, brought to you by the Freckled Mamba behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. What's up, Freckled Mamba? Of course, I'm Eric. That's Gil. We got Steven. Espo's out handling business. Also, he can't stop laughing after the end of last night's post-game show.
Many have saying he's still laughing.
Yeah. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. If you missed last night's post-game show, I highly recommend that you go watch it.
Drew knows.
Because, wow. I mean, maybe, and I will say probably, a top one most insane thing that's ever happened on the history of this show happened at the end of last night's postgame show. I will leave it at that. All I will say is I guarantee you on today's show, there will be no AI-generated babies. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
I'm good. Suns won last night, even though the game ended at like 1 in the morning. It's fine. It's good. 2 games in a row, and now, we're ready for the playoff push.
I'm chilling, man. Obviously last night's game was a late one. That was for the sickos and the diehards out there. But also I think this team continuing to find its way defensively, letting that lead the way for them. I'll probably mention it again at some other point in the show, but since the turn of the calendar into the new year, they have the 5th best half-court defensive rating in the league. When you consider some of the offensive kind of doldrums and the kind of speed bumps that they've had to work through, and that defense still maintaining at that particular level, that says a lot about just the environment that they have and knowing how to get back in alignment with what makes them a really good team.
It's a game that a lot of
the earliest alignment
it might be
gotten right there.
I mean, we're feeling very aligned. I think games like last night you start to take for granted when you've had a season like the Suns have had. I think about that Dallas game that they had, one of their few wins in the month of February. A couple of Wizards wins as well, where the Suns don't go out there and win by 30 points, by 40 points, by 50 points, right? And they don't play perfectly, but a good measure for good teams is like, hey, can you kind of like sleepwalk to a victory, right? Jalen Green was a leading scorer with 20 points. A couple other players, Grayson Allen, Colin Gillespie, Devin Booker in the high teens. But like nobody went out there and had 50 for them. They didn't it wasn't an impressive win, Gil, but it was I say like an easy win because I guess nothing is easy in the NBA, but it was about as easy as they come.
I'll say the win wasn't impressive, but I think the process was impressive in a weird way, right? Like I think there was more that we would have liked to have seen from the Suns last night, and we were disappointed with them being down 8 in the first quarter, and we kind of were ragging on you, Eric, for having potentially jinxed things. But
never worried, by the way.
You never were worried, but they kind of just periodically.
Being ragged on or jinxing?
Yes.
Okay.
Just for clarity purposes. Okay. All right. But periodically, just step by step, kind of clawed back in there and got things done. And we saw things from different guys. Like we saw the big first half from Oso. We saw some moments from Devin knocking down shots. I know we talked about inefficiency overall, but efficiency from beyond the arc. Jalen was the opposite. Inefficiency overall, but efficiency inside the arc. He had a big moment, the big dunk that we've been waiting for all game. And then it was just kind of like, hey, we're better than you, Sacramento. Like, you aren't going to have enough. And they had that big lead, and the Kings chipped away at the end, but there was never really worry that they were going to come back in and make it any more interesting than it was. So that was kind of what I think that you said, Eric. Like, good teams do that. More often than not, you would like the good team to just do what they do and just get through and just put you away, but they held them off. And I think that says a lot for a team. It's a good way to start the month of March.
I mean, it was important, right? Like, we had the Suns must-win meter at a 10, Steven. Like, and guess what? Breaking news, they won. It doesn't really matter how you win as long as you still continue to pick up wins right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, again, getting them off of the identity that you've established as your main contributing route to success That says more than anything to me just about some of the weaknesses and things we've seen them work through. To that point, they have 15 games where they've held a team to 110 points or less since the turn of the calendar into the 2026 portion. Just let that kind of sink and settle on your mind for a moment, because that is not easy to do, nor is that something that you just kind of walk yourself into. That has to be done with great intent, and it's also not always going to go your way. Teams are going to meet you with some resistance with how they can just put the ball in the basket. And for this team to continue to say they can have a template for success, someone shows them that they can do something to poke at different things, and then they can adapt to take things away or just do their job better. And I think both of those two things kind of melding into one another over the course of a game is what makes them so good. And I think last night was another example. No real notable scorers outside of, I think, the 11 points that Malik Monk scored at the end of the first quarter. But they were able to quickly put that fire out, and those last 3 quarters was very much Suns defensive basketball.
Well, and I think that's the last thing that I'd like to talk about last night's game specifically, because at the end of the day, it is a win over the Kings, the worst team in the NBA. You sweep them on the season series, which is good, but it's nothing to write home about. Is Jalen Green's defense, because one thing that Jalen Green has been consistent with since his return, Gil, has been the effort on the defensive end. I think he has the best individual defensive rating of any player in the Suns so far this season, somewhere around 104 point something. A smaller sample size, but he had 5 stocks last night. He continues to be using his athletic gifts on that end, and that is something that, I don't think he had a good reputation for. Even though the Rockets were a good defensive team, I don't think anybody was talking about, oh, Jalen Green is a very good defensive player. I think he's been a very good defensive player since he's returned for the Suns.
We've seen other teams test him and try to put him in actions and try to make him uncomfortable and see where that hamstring is and see where the hip is after the fall. And for more often than not, he's taken pride and he has answered those tests. And I think that's what we continue to see with him. And there's confidence that grows on that end as well. And I think your team can instill confidence in you and trusting you with the assignments that they give you, with the spots that they put you in. And what you said, Eric, when guys are athletically gifted, a lot of times there is no excuse for you to not at least use that and just use that and marry that with basketball IQ. So if you're just athletic enough and you're in the right place or in the right rotation, you're going to get a deflection here or there. You're going to get a few steals. You're going to have some games where you have 4 stocks or four steals like he did last night. So that is a very good development for him, because oftentimes, especially in late season, especially in the postseason, you're going to see teams say, okay, who are we hunting on defense? What matchup are we going to exploit? And if your weakest link is as strong as he has shown the ability to be, you're in a really good spot. And you talked about that, Stephen, with holding teams under 110.
Yeah. I would like to take a quick trip down memory lane. So for anybody that watched the finals last year, Oklahoma City, who are you poking at? And this is, you can extend their rotation past their starting unit to 7 or 8 players. Throw Cason Wallace in that mix, Alex Caruso in that mix. You can throw Jalen Williams, the reserve Jalen Williams, in that mix. Like, there's nobody that you're saying that matchup I want, unless you maybe want Chet. Chet has one of the top 15 wingspans in the league and moves his feet as well as anybody. So is that really an advantage if you're creating that? Like, and then on top of that, they take away space. Like, I'm bringing that part up to bring it back home for the Suns. Obviously, the Suns aren't quite Oklahoma City's defense, but in most metrics, you look at Oklahoma City as the golden standard. Look who's right there in the realm, if not right underneath them at number 2 or number 3 in multiple capacities. It's these Suns. They cover up for each other very well. Oftentimes, they have guys that teams want to hunt out, but they can't just outright exploit them without having to be met with some resistance from help defense. And that's what makes this team so good. They might not have the one-on-one cachet for defense that Oklahoma City does, but the execution and process is why they've been so good. Anthony Edwards trying to hunt out Colin Gillespie and Jamari Bouye earlier this season. The Suns just forced them all the way out of their offense and stormed back to get a comeback win. Same thing with the Lakers. Lakers trying to hunt guys out. Jamari Bouye, Colin Gillespie, they're not seeing one-on-one because guys are just shrinking the floor. So that's what makes this team good defensively.
Who's the worst defender on the Suns that gets regular burn?
If we're talking on ball, just guarding point of attack.
I'd say like overall, taking everything into account. Because and the reason why I asked that question, Steve, is because I have like a couple of names that come to mind. I think a lot of people will point towards Royce O'Neal. But like you mentioned, Royce O'Neal has some very specific strengths. on the defensive side of the ball. And when you have guys like Royce O'Neal, or like you say, okay, Colin Gillespie, he's on the smaller side of things, or Devin Booker has never been a great defender in his career. Well, not only are all these guys showing an incredible amount of effort at all times, and they're being put correctly in like the scheme, but the Suns are still able to have very positive defenses with them and to use their strengths. And so I ask who the worst defender is, because I think the real answer is there isn't an answer. They're all good defenders, even with their various weaknesses.
Yeah, you can't get to having a consistent top 5 defense the majority of this season without having guys that are not bought in on that end, but not also having that ability to simply just execute. And to that point, you mentioned Colin, Devin, and Royce. We'll just use those 3 since you brought them up. All 3 very, very, very different defenders, different ranges in size and strength as well, but they all just get the job done. Gillespie, pesky at the point of attack, also a very underrated help defender in the timing with which he gets to doing that. His hands are super active as well. Royce, everybody else blow by percentage. Oh my God, yeah, okay, but what about if he isn't guarding the point of attack that often, which he isn't that often, because he has other guys that can do that, and now he's able to play to his strengths, which is literally his strength. He can guard guys that are 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", 7-footers at times because he's so strong, and he also has sensational hands, and he thinks the game through well. And then Devin Booker, his defense doesn't get enough attention. I'm not saying he's an all-NBA caliber guy, because he's not that, but he's a guy that can be an above-average defender and also provide impact with that. Look at some of the help defensive scenarios that he had last night, where he's just thinking the game through. He's early in a gap, which helps to stop a drive, and they flatten him out, and then they get back out, and next thing you know, a team is in the shot clock late. That's not because they're just going through offense aimlessly. It's because the Suns are keeping pressure on guys.
And credit to Jordan Ott, credit to Devin Booker, and credit to Dillon Brooks, because those are the 3 leaders who are leading in different ways. Jordan Ott, and saying that, listen, the prerequisite to getting on this court is you have to defend. You aren't going to play if you don't defend. Devin Booker, as we talked about, not known as being an all-league caliber defender, but doing more than holding his own and leading by example, saying, listen, I am the team's engine offensively, but also I'm going to show this effort on defense and be active and do the dirty work, even though I am the superstar face of the franchise. And of course, Dillon Brooks, injured right now, but the guy on this team who is going to take that assignment, whether it is Victor Wembanyama or LeBron James or anybody in between, he's willing to do that as well, and leading by example, doing it that way, and also leading vocally. So those 3 guys are the triumvirate that's the leadership group for this team, and set the tone from an early stage defensively with this team. And we've seen everybody else follow suit, and that's why your answer to there really isn't one, because if there was a guy who was weak on defense, guess what? He's not in the rotation.
Right.
And then when he gets in the rotation is by earning his way on there, by defending, and everything else comes in play. And that's the culture and why this team is as successful as it's been.
Yeah, this team has been successful on both sides of the ball, and you are now getting to the point, it's the beginning of March, where standings watch, and every single game really could decide whether this team that's on the bubble right now makes the playoffs or stays in the play-in with a chance to make the playoffs. What we're going to do is take a look at the standings, take a look at the next 10 games, and determine if these 10 games will decide if the Phoenix Suns make the playoffs or not. We're going to keep all that going on PHNX Suns on the other side of our first break. Might as well go to the official credit union of the Phoenix Suns. They play great defense on your money. Nobody's getting into Mountain America Credit Union, partially because, of course, Oso Ighodaro uses Mountain America Credit Union, but also because they have so many benefits for you. That's right, a My Style checking account can get you restaurant deals, mobile phone protection, telehealth access, identity protection, loan rate discounts, offers on travel and events, and so much more. And you can get all of that on an exclusive Suns or Mercury branded card. That's right, the exclusive home of the Suns and Mercury card. You can get it as a debit card, like I mentioned, My Style checking account, or as a credit card. No annual fee credit cards available as low rate, cashback, or rewards card options. Mountain America is here to guide you forward on your financial journey and have some fun while you're doing it with the Suns or Mercury card. So go get your Suns or Mercury card today at any Arizona branch. Visit macu.com/Suns to learn more. Insured by NCUA. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Loans on approved credit.
I've been here for a little over 3 months now, and some of my most memorable experiences here have been at Gila. Our watch parties have been something that are unmatched, and as of late, Gila's Vegas residency, the Vegas vibes that you're feeling at Gila, like I said, in immediately. From now through April, the Vegas residency at Gila Rivers Resorts and Casinos brings energy, attitude, and excitement straight to you here. And you don't have to go to Vegas. You don't have to go anywhere. You can go right there to one of the Gila locations out here. Exclusive concerts, extended DJ sets, showgirls, chef-driven dining, pop-up bars, and surprise cameos. And of course, the fabulous Corvette giveaway. We've seen those Corvettes. As soon as I walked in, I was like, I might need to get in on this.
I pulled up in it today.
See? So all you got to do is bring yourself. You bring you. Gila brings Vegas. Only at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for the full calendar of events.
Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We're talking playoffs. We're talking Western Conference season. We're talking Corvettes. That's what we do here on PHNX Suns. Look, guys.
Shout out Ayrton's boy, Juju Smith-Schuster. I could not let that one go. I could not let that slide.
We got Edward in the chat talking about playoffs or bust. What were the expectations for this team? That's something that we're going to get into here in a second because I think it is an interesting conversation about expectations on this team going into the season, what they've earned, and if what they've earned might actually change how some people may enjoy or look at this season.
Yeah. That the end. You can read.
Whoa! Shout out Edward.
Listen.
I mean, yeah. Edward says he wants OKC in the first round.
Edward is fired up.
I'll quote Kevin Gates.
He said, "Read it all."
I can't co-sign that, big brother, but I appreciate you for what you do. I mean, look, there's good vibes around the Suns right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at the standings presented by our friends over at Phoenix Raceway this weekend.
Vroom, vroom.
Phoenix Raceway, vroom vroom.
Vroom, vroom, vroom.
Go check out Phoenix Raceway tickets at the link in our description.
Vroom, vroom.
Okay, so mentioning OKC, they are the number 1 seed. Currently, the San Antonio Spurs, the 2 seed.
The 1 seed for now.
Yeah. Houston Rockets, the 3 seed. They have not, I don't say built a cushion, but they have elevated themselves in the standings. They are tied with the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are the 4th seed right now. Watch out. The Denver Nuggets, not playing well since Nikola Jokic has been back without Aaron Gordon, without Peyton Watson. They have slid down now to the 5th seed, only a half a game above.
Some are saying a Nuggets avalanche. That's our bar.
Ooh, okay.
Don't worry. They signed David Roddy. It's fine. And Tyus Jones.
Yeah,
they're really just eating our leftovers, huh? half a game above the Lakers at the 6th seed, who are now 2 games above the Suns. They have moved up a game. They beat the Pelicans last night, so the Suns 2 games out of that 6th seed, but they are pretty securely in that 7th seed. The Suns are. They are 4 games now ahead of the Golden State Warriors, and then 4.5 or 5.5 games ahead of the Clippers and 6.5 games ahead of the Trailblazers, right? So really, it feels like the separation here, as much as there's the play-in line between the 6th and the 7th seed, it feels like the separation is between the 7th seed and below. It does feel like the Suns belong in that upper echelon playoff contenders, even if they are the lowest. When you look at the 6th seed and the 5th seed and how close the Suns are, which are 2.5 games off the 5th seed, 2 games out of the 6th seed, between the Nuggets and the Lakers, which one of those teams do you feel like is most likely to drop in the standings enough for the Suns to surpass them?
I'm going to say it's the Lakers. And I say that because they are kind of soul searching right now. They are obviously a team that does not lack top-end talent in any capacity. Some might argue they have the most top-end talent in the entire league. And I wouldn't be one to argue against that if that's your claim. And I think that they're a team that feels like they're waiting for the playoffs to get here versus other teams trying to establish themselves before the playoffs get here. And it's because they know that once they get to a series, things become a lot more concise. You only have one opponent to think about. You can key in on specific tendencies and take away things, but also impose your own will on just one opponent across maybe 6 or 7 days worth of games, if not maybe slightly more than that, depending on how long your series goes. So I will say the Lakers for what it feels like where they're at right now mentally is as a team versus the Nuggets being a team that even with Jokic not being 100% right now and having other injuries they're working through, they've still kind of pretty much been top 5, top 6 all season.
The Nuggets, I'll push back a little bit as far as that goes. I think the Lakers have been a team who we've called fraudulent, and they've struggled against better teams. They do play the Nuggets a couple times in the next couple of weeks. They play the Rockets as well. I'm concerned about the Nuggets. I wonder if they're going to have some of those same issues of never getting everybody on the same page because everybody's just continuously in and out of the lineup. So I think that's where their susceptibility comes from to potentially fall, because they just need that continuity. We've seen it so much with this Suns team. We've been saying, man, if they could just get healthy, we'll see everything at its best. And we still haven't seen it yet. Like, as happy as we are to have seen Devin Booker back in the lineup, still no Jordan Goodwin in the lineup, still no Dillon Brooks in the lineup. And I think the Nuggets have been dealing with that at a higher level this year. And Jokic has missed a lot of time. And as soon as somebody else comes in, somebody else falls back out of the lineup. So I'm curious to see what that does for their chemistry and continuity to try to get everything together and play the game very similarly to what the Suns are trying to do during this final stretch of the season. But to that same point, it is worth mentioning with the Lakers that their 2-game advantage really is just a 1-game advantage, because having the tiebreaker is massive against them head to head. If you just finish with the same record as the Lakers, you got them.
Yeah.
So it's really just a matter of catching them in the standings that gives you a little bit of a bonus, and knowing you play them one more time also helps a little bit there. So I think the Suns should feel pretty good about where they are as far as the standings go right now.
I want to give a shout out to Zoran in the chat, not Dragic. Says it's 11:20 p.m. in Serbia, Europe. Go Suns! I love that we talk about Jokic. Somebody from Serbia shows up, but they're a Suns fan. Imagine sticking as a Suns fan living in Serbia. That is true dedication. So thank you, Zoran. I think with the Nuggets, it's very interesting what they're kind of putting out on the court right now as a product. Now, look, Aaron Gordon, if he comes back soon, you would imagine he helps a lot. But like, Aaron Gordon's missed a lot of time due to a hamstring injury, which we've seen not only hampers you when you're back, but can keep you out multiple times, because he did return briefly, but he missed a lot of time before that and has missed a lot of time since. Peyton Watson also, I believe, with a hamstring injury as well. And so you don't know when the Nuggets get fully healthy, if they are really going to be fully healthy. They are kind of sliding at the wrong time here. Now, the Lakers, I will say, I think are playing better than the Nuggets as of late. But they're also like, yeah, they're frauds. They also have not Nikola Jokic, which is tough. They are a clutch game merchant as well. And you have the season series over them. I wouldn't say it's out of the realm of possibilities that the Suns leapfrog both of them. But the Suns would really need to go on a run themselves, because I don't see these two teams being bad enough that they just like lose the majority of their games. They're both 5-5 in their last 10. The Lakers have won their last 3 though. And if
against the Warriors, Kings, and Pelicans.
And I get it, but like the Lakers and the Suns have a very similar strength of schedule going forward, right? So yeah, they might play the Nuggets a couple times, the Rockets a time or two, but they're not playing like a super hard strength of schedule. I believe the Nuggets are somewhere in the teens when it comes to strength of schedule. If the Suns can go 7-3 in their next 10, right? 8-2 in their next 10, and these teams stick around 500, that's enough to leapfrog there. I think it comes down to taking care of your own business while these two teams maybe hit a lower point after you just hit your low point in February.
Yeah, I think that matters. So one of the points you brought up, Gil, I think I personally worry less about Denver, because what they have that the Lakers don't is a certain type of continuity that's resulted in a championship. I was going to leave that one for last for sure, because that matters a lot. But yeah, you look at their main rotation, you can talk about Mike Malone not being there, but who's in place of Mike Malone? The assistant coach on those exact teams that they made deep playoff runs with and won a championship with. And to that point, when you have that continuity, like even Bruce Brown, he left after that, but he spun the block and came right back. Yeah. So the continuity is there. Guys are just older and guys are better. Christian Brown, guys like that. So I just worry a little bit less about them on that part. But it does matter that they're just on a little bit of a slide right now for sure. And that allows the Suns opportunity, which feels like the Suns kind of creating that for themselves, because you do all of that hard work through that crazy December schedule and then a crazy January schedule after a couple of weeks of a little bit of a downtime. You do so well in those moments to give yourself an opportunity like this. And now is that time for them to potentially take advantage of the standings. Other teams ebbing and flowing while you're ebbing. If you can go and make that happen and do like the Jeffersons, move on up, that would be very solid.
I got an exhale from Ayrton back there. Oof.
That's important too, because this 2-game win streak you're on to start the month of March, it does get tough. And we've looked at the schedule and looked at what's coming up, and it does get tough toward the end of this week and going into the beginning of the trip that you're about to go on. But you have an opportunity to kind of build some goodwill and get some wins and take care of business with what's in front of you. No nights off, but we saw what happened last night in Sacramento. Have a Bulls team who's been in search of answers. Have a Pelicans team coming in who's also in search of answers. And those are the two tests. So if you can check those boxes, then you got a real test in the Hornets, who it's kind of crazy that, if I had said this 3 months ago, you guys have been like, oh man, you're just trying to be cool to your hometown. But in reality, it's the team who's 18-2 with their starting lineup. And 2 of those losses were like games where, against really tough teams. So if you can build some momentum going into that tough test, which is a national TV game this weekend, you're really cooking going into another 6-game road trip. So that's really important to take advantage, obviously 1 game at a time and what's in front of you. But this is probably as soft as the schedule is going to get. And still, it's a reminder that there's really no night off in this league.
Well, and March is also a month where things get a little wacky as well. And I think the Suns have usually, historically speaking, taken advantage of the month of March very well, specifically Devin Booker. And you mentioned the ebbs and flows, Stephen, and kind of last thing for me here on just the overall standings before we dive a little deeper into the next 10 games, then talk about if it's a playoffs or bust type of situation for the Suns right now, is you have withstood so many punches this season, and I think the month of February was probably the toughest blow, right? You got a couple of buzzer beaters at the end there. You won 4 games in the month of February. Trailblazers, you won by 5 in a crazy game. The Magic, you barely won that game, despite the Mavericks got gifted so many free throws. Buzzer beater against the Magic, buzzer beater against the Lakers. You escaped barely with a couple of wins in the entirety of February, but you got them. You stayed afloat. You battled through your tough parts. The same thing like you mentioned in December when the Suns are facing insane schedule without Devin Booker, without Jalen Green. What happened right after December? The Phoenix Suns were the best team in basketball post-Christmas for an entire month until the end of January. The singular best record in basketball in that time, tied with, I hate saying this because of the guy in the chat right now, the Clippers, right? Had a player of the week and a coach of the month and had huge wins over the Pistons and the Cavs and the Knicks. Like you went out there and you responded as soon as your schedule let up a little bit with an insane run that did vault you into the playoffs for the time being. If the pattern holds and if what we've seen for the Suns continues to be what the Suns are, this month of March should be a punch back like we have not seen yet this season.
January was the month of, we can't ever count this team out.
Never.
Month. And that was when we really learned that, and like it started with the OKC win and all those things happened in that month. And that was when we really began to really believe and recognize they could beat anybody on any given night. And there were a lot of reasons and context or excuses, wherever you want to use to explain what happened to this team in February. But to get Devin Booker back to start the month of March, to potentially have Haywood Highsmith just kind of there in case you need him, to know that hopefully Dillon Brooks is on the right side of his recovery at some point in this month. And same thing for Jordan Goodwin. I'm no longer holding out and saying, wait till this team gets healthy. But there are positives to hold on to. There are some softer parts in the schedule. And even the tougher parts of the schedule, we're kind of back in that mindset of believing, especially the way this team found a way, when shorthanded, to beat the Lakers. Oh, yeah, this is a team that can beat anybody. And I think that just like rookies hit walls and players who have kind of emerged to be a bigger version of themselves hit walls, this team understandably hit a wall because of how hard they play. And All-Star break didn't really remedy it the way we thought it would, because as soon as you come out of All-Star break, your best player gets hurt. And I said it last night that last night's game kind of felt like the real game after All-Star to start the month of March. And I think that we're going to see a rejuvenated, re-energized, refreshed team in the month of March, and it should show in the results.
Yep, now is the time for you to kind of receive everything opportunity-wise that's come from the work that you've done early on. Obviously, it's been met with some resistance at times, but you've stayed the course more often than not, significantly more often than not, especially in respect to expectations that outsiders may have had on the team, just kind of assessing things in preseason. So this is the perfect opportunity to take full advantage of the schedule, giving you a little bit of opportunity with the opponents that you're going up against.
9 games above 500 for the Phoenix Suns right now. 20-12 at home, 15-14 on the road, which is impressive. 10-6 in division, and 24-18 in the Western Conference so far. They have been truly impressive, and all of that is after a terrible month of February. But this month of March is important, especially these next 10 games. We're going to tell you why. We're going to break down these games, and we'll talk about, is it playoffs or busts for the Phoenix Suns this season? We'll do it on the other side of our second break. Whether you want to relax, get uplifted, be sleepy, whatever it is, Pure Edibles is here to enhance your experience. They don't take away from the experience because of the taste. No, they taste delicious. They taste like actual candy because Pure is an actual candy company. And of course, leave it to 3 ASU alumni to be innovative. Pure also has clearly listed effects on all of their tins. They use CBN, CBG, CBD with marijuana-derived THC to show you exactly what you're going to get. Gone are the days of sativa, indica, hybrid, because that could be a complete mixed bag of effects. No, you get relaxed, you get balanced, you get sleepy, you get uplifted, you get euphoric. You get what you see with Pure Edibles, and you could be bit or rip in half so that they are easily shareable and easy to dial in your exact dose. So go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from one of the over 130 dispensaries across Arizona. Also love telling you about our friends over at the Window Depot, because guess what? The Window Depot, not just windows, not just doors, skylights, cabinets, countertops, sinks, and more. Guess what? The Window Depot is introducing flooring. Currently available at all Tucson stores, coming to Phoenix soon. They are adding flooring to the best price and the biggest inventory in the valley, from windows to doors, from cabinets to countertops. It's Arizona made and locally trusted with 7 locations across the state, but it doesn't stop there. You need a custom order? Well, guess what? They'll get that in stock and they'll work with you and get that ready. You need an in-house designer to help you bring your space to life? Guess what? They have that for you at no extra cost. You can always go to thewindowdepot.com, browse everything that's in stock, widely available with no membership fees because they keep prices low. So visit thewindowdepot.com, get started on your next project today, or stop by one of the Window Depot's 7 Arizona locations. See for yourself why they're way more than just a window store, or you can give Window Depot a call. Their team's going to help you get exactly what you need at the price that you want it at. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Even the Clippers fan here in chat, and everybody, Clippers fans alike, well, you're going to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. You're going to need some green to go along with your St. Patrick's Day. You can get some St. Patty's merch at All City. That's right, we got PHNX merch and everything all along here. Go to gophnx.com/collection/St. Patrick's Day, or just go to our locker. Get yourself some green before March 17th. Why the chuckle?
That could be an entendre as well.
That could be an entendre. Well, hopefully.
Right on schedule. Look who's
right there.
Kara.
See, I was thinking
Kara, aka Johnny on the spot.
I was thinking about like actual trees and planting trees, because we got our Clippers fan here. We also aspire to be as optimistic as them.
That reminds me. That's good. That reminds me. I was driving into work yesterday, and you know, there's always basketball fans around downtown Phoenix whenever there's a Suns game, even if it's not a home game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm turning in and I see a guy in a Clippers jersey, and I'm like, that's weird. I didn't know that they made those, that people actually wore them. And he goes up and he daps up these 2 guys that are working at a table outside of a building. And I'm like, what company is that? It was a nature company, a conservation company.
You can't make this up.
And I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
You can't make this up.
You've got to be kidding me. I couldn't tell if it was a Kawhi jersey, but it was pretty funny. Well, look.
I would just. Never mind. We can leave it alone.
Is it about the Clippers fan and shit?
I was going to ask, is Kawhi even going to be with the Clippers next season? But
I mean, they're not even bragging about Kawhi. They're talking about Darius Garland's better than Devin Booker, and that the Suns are irrelevant and the Clippers are relevant. And it's so funny to me. I think it's the same person that was in the U of A chat or the ASU chat that was trolling about the Suns in the ASU chat, and then U of A and ASU fans that were trolling us started going back at him, being like, you're a Clippers fan, you're so irrelevant, like who cares about you, like you're so irrelevant, you have to come into our podcast to tell us how irrelevant we are.
Leave it light.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, show some love.
And
Anyway,
go back to that ASU stream that you was on too.
hit that like
it
too. Yeah, just hit all these streams. Hit like, you got nothing going on. I know you got no friends. You're a Clippers fan. Let's take a look at the next 10 games for the Phoenix Suns, because we did kind of a micro look at the next 5. Obviously, one of those games against the Kings is over. I'm just going to list these off, and then we can dive into it from there. So you got tomorrow and Friday, a back-to-back at home against Chicago and New Orleans. Then Sunday, a national TV game against the Hornets. Tuesday on the road, it starts a long road trip, 6-game road trip. Milwaukee, Indiana, Toronto, Boston, Minnesota, San Antonio. The back end of those 10 games, Milwaukee. Now, there are a couple of good teams in there.
Yes.
Charlotte is a good team.
Yes.
Certified good team. Toronto has a problem beating good teams, but they're an above 500
They've
team.
been the Suns of the Eastern Conference for the most part.
They've been good. Boston, we know what Boston did.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota, San Antonio. Those are tough. So it's 5 of the games.
Mm-hmm.
The other 5, Chicago, New Orleans, Milwaukee, Indiana.
Yep.
It's a pretty even split, and I think it's safe to say for me, if the Suns can take care of business against the 5 lower teams coming up, and then knock off 2 or 3 of Toronto, Boston, Minnesota, San Antonio, and Charlotte, I think the Suns vault into a playoff spot after that.
That's fair.
That's my personal opinion.
It's fair to say. I'm looking at that interesting. First of all, did they do this for us? Charlotte, then New Orleans, and then Chicago, New Orleans, Charlotte. They,
Wow.
That was like pretty wild.
What a week.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Steven, you're wearing Bulls colors. Wow.
I wasn't even going that way. I was trying to, go there. But based on what we've seen from this team, I think Toronto is very prime for that. We talked about this. Like, I was joking last night. They got blown out by the Knicks again. I said the Knicks just are just their big bro. And they've
They've
struggled.
beaten 12 times in a row. They haven't beaten the Knicks since Fred VanVleet was on the team.
There you go. They're big bro.
It's
The
crazy.
Knicks are big bro to the Raptors, and the Raptors have had their struggles beating good teams this year. And that's smack dab in the middle of that road trip. Have a chance to help yourself at the end of the road trip against Timberwolves and the Spurs. You've played well against those teams, except for the last time against the Spurs, but there was a lot at play during that matchup. I like the confidence. I think that, kind of back to what I was saying earlier, you win these next 2, which is take care of business against Chicago and New Orleans. You've got the momentum of a 4-game streak. You're playing at home, prime time. The Hornets are good, but it's also still a young team having to come on the road and play in a playoff-like atmosphere. They're on a tough trip. They're in Boston tonight, so they're going to be tested a lot. I think that game for them is the first of a road trip, and we've seen how teams kind of stumble out of the gates to start a road trip. So I like that as one of those good teams you could probably get, and then just go on that trip. I think get greedy. I think that go 3-3, go 4-2 on a 6-game road trip is what you need to aspire for. And I really do think that 8-2 in this stretch is very much attainable, and agree that would put you in that top 6, given the way teams in the West are beating up on each
You
other.
ready for a crazy stat? The Charlotte Hornets have a better record on the road this season than they do at home. They're 14-16 at home, and they're 17-15 on the road.
That's actually really wild.
That's pretty nuts.
That's nuts.
Right?
Yeah.
Steven, when you look at the next 10 games, how do you diagnose how important they are for the Suns?
They're the most important games pretty much the rest of the way right now, because this is where you put yourself in a position to be everything that you want to be. Dillon Brooks mentioned to media right after their last game before the All-Star break that they would love to be the 3rd seed. You can't get to even having a vying chance at that without handling the business that's directly in front of you. And this next 10 games is going to be just that. I think it's not going to be easy. It's going to present multiple different types of challenges. It's going to present them with players that can poke at things that have shown to be weaknesses for them at times. And they have to be very intentional about how they navigate those games, but also the ways in which they go about just game plan-wise, how they want to execute against certain teams. I think Giannis being involved in both of those games against the Bucks makes those games very, very, very different than what they maybe would have been if he wasn't available for one or both of those. So I'm looking forward to this stretch because of the different tests that are going to be there. It's gonna be fun to kind of gauge what's going on from there.
I'm sorry, man. I know that they're thriving off the attention, but LA Clippers Nation 2019 saying y'all just mad that you have 0 championships. I mean, it's a bit. It's 100% a bit.
That's
right?
a funny one though.
Like it's hilarious. Honestly, kudos to you. Like that's absolutely hilarious. Oh man, I think also, Gil, what's kind of important about these games, I know that they're not facing the Nuggets, they're not facing the Lakers. These are the teams that we just mentioned are directly ahead of them in the standings, but they are taking on the Timberwolves,
Yes.
right, in one of those games, and they do have currently the season series lead on the Timberwolves. I believe they've beaten them in all 3 games that they've played, or they've only played 2 so far this season.
Played twice and won both, and this is the third and final meeting. So
they have the season series
against the Timberwolves.
And now I don't want to PTSD the last time that the Suns swept the season series against the Timberwolves.
Oh,
the
we don't have to go.
Timberwolves
We don't
swept them in
get
the playoffs.
Very different. Very different.
Why? What happened? No, but you do have the Timberwolves ahead of you, right? And so the Timberwolves, who are currently in the 4th seed, are a team that you're going to be playing at the end of this. You do play the Spurs, which will be a good test for you because the last time that you played San Antonio, you didn't have Devin Booker. The last 2 times you played them before that you beat them, they either didn't have Stephon Castle or Wemby. And so, this is a good kind of measuring stick where you also have Boston that beat the crap out of you at home, where you barely scored. But having Devin Booker for this stretch, hopefully also these 10 games, why they're so important is we are starting to see a little progress in Jalen Green, right? And so if Jalen Green can kind of find his footing against the Chicagos, the New Orleans, maybe the Charlottes, who I wouldn't say hang their hat on defense as much as maybe some other teams that are pretty good, you have a chance as Jalen Green to be heading into Toronto, Boston, Minnesota, San Antonio, that 4-game stretch on the road, probably the most crucial 4-game road stretch the Suns will have all season against 4 of the better teams that they play. And having Jalen Green in a groove with Devin Booker hopefully back in his rhythm as well. And if you can see that and you can see the fruits that bears, maybe that is enough for them to start, taking down some of these better teams that maybe they didn't match up with that well before, like a Boston or maybe a fully healthy San Antonio. I do think that there's a chance that these next 10 games, at the end of it, national media outlets, us here, people who just cover the NBA in general will be like, wow, even without Dillon Brooks, this Suns team is kind of clicking at the right time. And I think it's kind of set up perfectly for them to go into that 4-game stretch with some momentum.
And more than just their respective groups individually, their group playing off of one another. Last night, it was such a beautiful thing to see Devin Booker get a catch-and-shoot three-pointer off of Jalen Green. Mm-hmm. And I expect to see more of that moving forward, and both of them helping one another. Both of them are in different spots, respectively, on where they are getting their legs back under them and getting back comfortable in the lineup. But it's going to take an extended period of time for them to get used to playing off one another and playing next to one another, and everybody else to getting in where they fit in around those guys as well. And that back half of the trip, I'm really glad you pointed that out, Eric, because something we've talked about so much with this team is how you respond. How you respond to getting bullied and just beat up by the Celtics after having a good start against them. You go up double digits and then the Celtics just take over and dominate that game. And quiet as it's kept, we could see Jason Tatum in that game. I'm not counting on it, but we could see Jason Tatum in that game. So that adds another element to that game as well. How do you respond to a Minnesota team who you've beaten twice already and is going to be extra motivated to at least get one on the scorecard against you? They're going to be motivated. You're winding down on this trip, and it's going to be one of those days where you're kind of fighting attrition and fighting some things like that to get that done. And, of course, last time we played the Spurs, they ran you out of Texas because you're playing in Austin and not San Antonio. They ran you out of Austin, Texas, and you want to respond to that as well because they were saying, hey, that wasn't us that played in that game. We didn't do the things that we did. That was very uncharacteristic. However, Jalen Green did have a good game in that. And I think the biggest thing right now, you're going into this 10-game stretch with 35 wins, would love to come out of it with 42 to say you've clinched a winning season. Like, it's going to be great. We know that they're going to get past 36, which is going to be a big moment for us to surpass last year's win total. But speaking to expectations that have been spoken about a lot in the chat, we've adjusted that. We're way beyond surpassing last year's win total. That's a given now. Okay, now let's get over 41 wins. Let's clinch a winning season. Let's see if this team can still somehow get to the high 40s this year. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this stretch, especially the back end of that trip.
Well, and Steven, before we kind of get to the expectations, I think externally when it comes to us, when it comes to the fan base, and maybe some of the weight that comes with that here in our final segment, I think that you can speak very well on the expectations that the team has had for themselves. You mentioned what Dillon Brooks had said, where he's like, we want to be the 3rd seed. Devin Booker last night talking about they don't want to be a team in the play-in. They want to be a playoff team. This is not a team that is satisfied with just being good. This is not a team that is, in their minds, honestly, a great story. To me, it feels like this is what their expectation has been, and maybe even below what their expectation was as far as who they are. I think that is also very telling as far as like what this team's mindset is going to be here in the home stretch.
Yeah, I think they came into this season believing that they could be a playoff team just through and through. Wherever within that top 6 you want to look at is fine, but they firmly believed that they could be and should be a playoff team if things go the right way in the direction in which they had planned to in process. Now, injuries unaccounted for, guys going on cold spells unaccounted for. Like, there's a lot of variance that comes with that. Obviously, other teams outperforming whatever their expectations might have been as well factors into that too. But as far as the controllables part, being the 7th seed for a team that had 30 win or sub 30 win expectations is nothing to scoff at. It's nothing to just gloss over. That's a celebratory moment for those on the external of the franchise. For those on the internal, it's cool, but the job is not even close to being finished, because what you want to do, which again is a foundational season for your head coach, as well as your general manager, as well as this iteration of the roster and what's to come, you want to absolutely get the most out of this. That's going to be what sets the tone for everything to come from this season. You don't want to be shortcoming and saying we were good for 3/4 of the year, and then we just kind of didn't find our way, and then we ultimately had to be succumb to the play-in, and maybe we losing the play-in. Like, you don't want any of that. You want to continue to control your controllables, put yourself in that position to be as good as you can be, and then at that point, it is what it is after that.
Is it playoffs or busts for the Phoenix Suns this year? I know they've earned expectations, but just how should fans maybe be looking at this end of the regular season? That's the last thing we're going to be tackling here on PHNX Suns, and we'll do it on the other side of our final break. Look, you can tell I'm wearing sunglasses. I've been wearing sunglasses on air for the last couple of months, not because I just want to, but honestly because I need to. I needed good, durable, polarized shades because my eyesight has just been messed up. Sensitivity to light, everything like that. It's made it really hard to be in front of these lights. And that's why Shady Rays has just been such a lifesaver for me on air, off of air, everywhere. Shady Rays has been there for me. And it was honestly before all of this. They changed the game. They were durable. They were polarized. They had great style, exactly how I like my sunglasses to look. And here's the best part about Shady Rays. If you lose or you break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair, no guilt trip, just replacements. So now I can wear my sunglasses without fear, and I wear them everywhere all the time. That's extra chance to break it. I literally sat and stepped on my sunglasses in here, and I had to get a new pair thanks to Shady Rays. Go to shadyrays.com, use code PHNXSR for 40% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. That's code PHNXSR for 40% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses.
Shady Rays is like Brook Lopez with the 3.
That's right. They added.
Exactly. You know, talking about adding things and things that I appreciate. I appreciate a good snack. I appreciate a good deal.
Ooh.
And if you need a good snack and a good deal, you go to Circle K.
We got some new snacks here in the office.
We sure did, and I took advantage already.
You told me. See, that's crazy.
Nah,
well, somebody got to check their Slack, brother.
Yeah, take Slack and take advantage, because barbecue chips.
Awareness at a 0.
I mean, the peach rings are fully
peanut butter
arranged
pretzels, dark chocolate covered almonds.
Gummy Shark, shout out to the Freckle Mamba.
Yeah,
they got it all.
Shark.
And if you want to take advantage of yourself, you go to head to Circle K, because they've got all of that and then some. And if you join the Inner Circle, which is the free membership program at Circle K, you will make the most of your time there with those deals. It's easy to download to get enrolled. Use your phone number and you will get Circle K deals. Join our Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations, and visit CircleK.com for details.
Woo! What a Wednesday show. Thanks for checking in with PHNX Suns on Hump Day. All things playoff talk here for the Suns. What a world, huh? I know that we all expected the Suns to be better than they were this year, but this team has just been absolutely such a delight. Such a delight. $10 super chat from Kara says, we end the season with the 6th seed and make it out of the first round. I'm calling it now. Fingers crossed. Chris, we'll get to your super chat at the end of the show.
Manifest it.
Kara, you can.
Kara hopes to play in the first round at that 3 seed.
Yeah.
Bring 'em on.
I imagine from how we know Kara to be, she is in search of smoke.
She's about to smoke for sure.
And that's what she
Going up the chimney, baby.
That's exactly where I was going with it.
I appreciate that super chat, Kara, because it does kind of like drive us into this conversation where it's been a blessing of how good the Suns are, but with success comes expectations. With great power comes great responsibility. And the Suns have certainly earned some more expectations than what a lot of people walked into the season with. So I'll start with a vague question, and then we'll kind of go into maybe some more detail here. Is it playoffs? So you're in the playoffs, out of the play-in, or bust for the Phoenix Suns?
I would say no. And I say no because their expectations, well, the expectations placed upon them and where they're at right now are two very different things. It's safe to say they're well ahead of where anybody, well, a majority of people expected they would be this season. And with that part in mind, where they end up going the rest of the way is what it is. But I feel like them just having this foundation that's been established says everything about what it is they're working towards. Now, there might be some things that get in the way of them potentially getting to 6 and just outright ducking the play-in as a whole. And obviously, when you get to the play-in realm, it's a dice roll at that point because it's a one game against all of these different teams. There's a lot of variance there, but I think they're in a spot where they're better than people said they would be and said they would expect them to be. And I think that's the part that matters most to me at this present moment.
I'm going to say yes and answer the question in a way that it wasn't asked, but I'm still going to answer the question.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And
Why don't I just leave?
I'm going to say yes, playoffs or bust, because I'm looking at it as I'm looking at it as bust in a sense of like if you finish 7th and then lose twice and just don't make it all together.
Yeah.
I think that's a letdown and a massive failure based on where this team is now. The grind to get where they are, to exceed expectations and basically make them a thing that we don't even remember were a thing at this point. You don't want to have come this far just to come this far. I would feel very disappointed and whatever a stronger word than disappointed would be if this team doesn't get a playoff series based on being where they are right now. This team will probably be back 10 games over 500 by the end of the week. I would think if they take care of business, even if it's going 2-1 this week, they'll be back 10 games over 500. And to be 10 games over 500 at the 64 game mark of the season, that's got to be a playoff team. You've got to get the playoff experience, even if it's against the defending champs, even if it's against the Spurs, whoever it is you're facing in the playoffs. I think that is going to do so much for the development of the young guys who are going to get playoff reps than they would have if they just are 2 and done in the play-in tournament.
Through that lens real quick, if we're saying, when I'm saying playoff, I'm talking about top 6.
I was talking about at the end of the day, the play-in is over.
Okay.
The 1 through 8th seed is secure, and the Suns are in the top 8 seeds.
Okay.
So actually,
that's the conversation. Yeah, you were answering the question right. You answered the question
Okay.
wrong.
So yes, to just to retract a little bit, if they're on top 6, it's not doom and gloom, but they have to be in the playoff
and
dance.
see, that's kind of what I was saying, where it was like,
for sure.
I think it's we're at the point now with this team that if they are not playing in the playoffs, it's going to be disappointed, especially because, and I think I'd feel differently if the other 3 teams in the play-in were a little bit more dangerous. And I don't want to be old takes exposed here, but if you realistically break it down, like I said at the beginning of the show, it feels like there's a 7. It's Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Houston, Minnesota, Denver, Los Angeles, Phoenix. Those are, in different tiers of their own, the top tier of the Western Conference. Those are, in my mind, certified playoff caliber teams. Golden State, for a variety of reasons with their injuries and whatnot. LA, the Clippers, and Portland. Those are 3 teams I believe are a rung below playoff teams. If, let's say, Golden State was fully healthy with Kristaps and with Steph and like Jimmy Butler was playing there in the play-in, okay, that's a different conversation. Let's say the Clippers weren't an abomination of a program, right? That would be a different conversation. Let's say the Trailblazers, their all-star didn't have flare-up back problems and were obviously, like 4 games under 500 at this point and just not playing that great this season.
Their head coach.
Yeah. Well, without their head coach, yeah. Like, the only reason why the Trailblazers are in the play-in is because everybody else in the West is tanking. And so, because of that, if the Suns don't make it out of the play-in with 2 chances, because I can't imagine that they're not the 7th seed at this point. I don't know how they would really go down barring, something catastrophic. I'd be very disappointed. Now, yeah, I know, whatever. I know. We talk for a living. Hit knock on wood for everything.
You're right.
I will say this, though, that I would be very disappointed, and I do think this season is playoffs or bust, but Steven, kind of to your original point of like, no matter what, the foundation has been set for the future of this team. This season is not the end-all, be-all for the Suns. It's actually the beginning. And trying to keep that perspective big picture, if they do kind of flame out for whatever reason, hopefully if they do flame out, it's not one that's really in their control because that's a little bit more disappointing.
Yeah.
I'm still going into this offseason and next year feeling not just satisfied, but very proud of what this team was able to do this year. So maybe in that sense, it's not playoffs or bust, but I think we'd be doing the team a disservice right now to not say that it is playoffs or bust for them after how they've played.
Yeah, you get held to accountable. You get held accountable to the standard that you've communicated and shown that you've set, but also the level of play that you've sustained at. You can't be allowed to do what they did with that December schedule, be that good, like you mentioned, the January stretch where they were the best team in the league, and then do what they did with some of the end of the January schedule stretch as well with that, and then be not held to that standard. Like if you show you're better than what maybe people expected to see coming into the season, you don't get to just sit at that level at the bottom, just being just barely above it. Like you get held to account with that, and I think that matters for sure. And I think the other thing for me too. If we're looking at not just them being in the playoffs outright, but we're just kind of looking at the perception, you don't come into the season saying, man, I need the respect of the other 29 teams in the league. But it's a really nice thing to have that's kind of like a tap on the shoulder, like, hey, this is what alignment is. You're doing the things that you said you want to do in the ways in which you want to do, and now you're seeing impact from that. JJ Redick, Joe Mazzulla,
Kenny Atkinson,
Mark Dagnall, like all these coaches,
literally every single coach that they played.
That's it, exactly. Like all of these coaches that you would like, if you looked at their situation and you said, man, if we could be in a situation similar to theirs in our very first season with a brand new head coach, we will be good with that, and we'll take what comes with that. Guess what? You're there already. You've gotten the respect and cosign from all of those teams multiple times over for a few of them. Now it's about stamping those goods and getting it to where it needs to be.
What it comes down to for me is, as a unit, as a collective, 1 through 40, if you want to include the coaches and support staff, look yourself in the mirror and say, are we one of the best 8 teams in the Western Conference? I think everybody in here would say yes. I think everybody in there would say yes. And if you think that and believe that, then yes, missing the postseason, missing the playoffs, full stop, is a disappointment. Because if you are one of the 8 best teams in the playoffs, you should be one of the last 8 teams standing that are playing in late April and maybe even early May. And they've earned that. They've proven it. They believed it from the beginning, as you said, Stephen. But they've proven it with what they've done, the body of work throughout this season. And now it's time to show and continue to show and prove, because this is in front of you. Nothing is set in stone yet. You do have a cushion. You've earned that up to this point. But the Western Conference is unforgiving. The league is unforgiving. And teams have gotten better. Teams are still playing for something. You play the Pelicans, who, yes, they have one of the worst records in the league, but they have nothing to play for as far as record goes.
Oh, I don't know. They said they're making a play-in push with Murray back.
They have nothing to tank for. Excuse me.
Yeah.
They're trying to catch up.
They have everything to play for.
They're trying to make up that 10.5 game difference in the standings with 19 to play. I've seen nails in the outfield. My man said it could happen. It could happen. So they're trying to make that happen over the last. So these teams are going to test you. And you ask yourself before every game, well, we want to be one of the last 8 teams in the Western Conference, to give ourselves a chance to be one of the last 4 teams in the Western Conference, one of the last 2 teams, because everything is about matchups when it comes down to it at the end of the day. But I think when it comes to as far as measuring it that way, it would be a disappointment. It is playoffs or bust, because you are one of the 8 best teams in the Western Conference. You need to be among them when the postseason starts.
And let's not forget here that as much as going into the season, expectations are low. Everybody was taking the under and the over. That does not take away from the fact that, like, this is a year of Devin Booker's prime that once it's over, like, you're not getting back. I'm not saying that he doesn't have more years left, but it's not infinite, right? It's the same thing with Dillon Brooks. Like, the way that Dillon Brooks has been playing this season at his age, like, hopefully he continues to play like this. Hopefully he gets better. Who knows? Like, this is a year of Grayson Allen's prime, right? Like, this is a year of some of your top tier players' prime. Now, do you have the young infrastructure? Do you have the Oso, the Kaman, the Rasheer, the Gillespie, the Dunn? Like, yeah, you have that. And that's great. And it's great because you don't have a ton of draft picks going forward, especially your own draft picks. So when you want to look ahead to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years from now, that you can bank on that for sure. But right here, right now, your best player, in my money, a top 10 player in the league, an all-star, somebody who probably won't get all NBA buzz this year, but his impact certainly has been there, and Devin Booker is ticking off one of the few years of his prime that every single player of that caliber gets. You need to make the most out of it. I'm not saying it's a championship or bust. I'm not saying that this is your window to win a championship, but it is your window to be competitive. And if I told you that, hey, the Pacers were going to be in the finals last year, right? Like, you wouldn't believe me, right? And this is the type of team that has shown that it takes advantage of opportunity. You can't take advantage of an opportunity if you are not there for the opportunity. You have to at least be there. See if you get exposed. See what your faults are so that you can continue to capitalize on Devin Booker's prime. If not this year, hopefully over the next couple of years, saying, man, we matched up against the Spurs in the first round. We know the Spurs are going to be that good with that type of archetype with Wemby for the next couple of years. What do we need to do to get there, right? Detroit is the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. They haven't won a playoff series yet, but they at least got in the playoffs last year, and they got some experience. That's paying dividends this year. So
and I think that part to your point is as important as anything, regardless of what the result from a potential first-round series would be, and regardless of who the opponent is. So someone's going to teach you things about yourself that you maybe didn't know to the extent that you did, and it will then give you some clues to how to go about addressing things going forward, whether that's tweaks in approach from Jordan Knott, whether that's roster tweaks in terms of trying to strengthen strengths or strengthen a weakness, or just outright going a different route at certain margins of your team. There's an invaluable breadth of experience that comes from simply being at that dance. And you have, like, it's genuinely like a times 10 multiplier expediter to your process. First year head coach is going to come away with a lot more to learn from, to glean from in terms of recounting moments, and then apply going forward if he has that playoff kind of experience to put in tandem with the regular season.
It's exactly what I was thinking. This is Devin Booker's last year in his 20s. And
Yeah.
30
God.
is still 30
Oh my
is still
God, we're
30,
old.
30 is
Wow.
still young, and he's still in his
damn
prime.
right, Gil.
30, yeah,
Damn
no, I
right.
better say
Say
that,
it
right?
again.
Yeah, 30 is still
I
young.
don't think Ayrton heard
And
you.
I
Say
get
it
it.
We got a lot of unks in here.
30
Ayrton.
30 is
We got a lot of unks in
still
the
young.
building.
They say 30 is the new
Unks
20. I'm
in.
feeling that now. Look, it only gets greater once you hit 30. But thinking about that, but what Steven was saying as well, like, there's so many things that even if it's a 5 or 6 game series, that the young guys, Oso is going to play playoff minutes. Based on what we've seen lately, Rasheer as a rookie going to play playoff minutes. Colin Gillespie is going to play real playoff minutes. All these guys, and then you have the blend. You have Devin Booker who's played in the finals. You have Haywood Highsmith who's played in the NBA finals before. Like, blending that and seeing those guys who said Dillon Brooks played high leverage moments. Like, it's a good blend that you would take that when you go into a series, because you can have those guys kind of bring you along, and they learn lessons that can't be explained verbally or through example. They just have to learn it through experience, but you have guys who can walk them through that as well. So I think that would be a big thing for this franchise, because no, the championship window isn't open yet. I don't think. We could be wrong, but this is the window that gets you to that window. We've seen it with so many teams. We saw the Pacers the year before last make a run and have some things and win a playoff series. And when you get there, you're so much more prepared. You can tweak things in the margins. And then this time next season, we're talking bigger picture with this team and higher aspirations with this team, because they will have been where they're going to be and where they could go this postseason.
Now I will say this, and as the resident sicko fanatic here, what I don't want, even though I agree, playoffs are bust, expectations earned, this needs to happen, it'd be a disappointment as it wasn't. I don't want people to just like automatically flush all of the great things that have happened in the season if for some reason, let's say they either flame out in the first round or they lose a couple playing games for a variety of reasons. I think in the moment it's going to sting. I'll sit here and I'll tell you how much that stings for me too. But I'm so grateful for this specific iteration of the Suns. They have been fun to watch.
Yes.
I have appreciated, like, we all watch every game. There are people in here who watch every single game. There are people who are more casual. No matter what kind of fan you are, that's fine. But when you work this, like, this is no joke, our lives. And Steven, you can attest to last year, it was the biggest downer of all time. Like, it made basketball unenjoyable, which is not a sentence that I ever thought I could say, especially with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker on the same team. And this team has been the exact opposite. Every single night I've looked forward to them playing. I've enjoyed even the downs because I knew the ups were coming after that. You have the young guys, you have Jordan Knott, you have Devin Booker in a place where he's happy with the franchise. Like, you feel like you're in a good place. So even though it is playoffs or bust, I don't want the fan base to automatically flush all the goodwill that has been built up this season, because we have something to look forward to now. Like, they're doing this thing the right way. And that is something that I'm so grateful for, no matter what the outcome of this season is.
Yeah, and that should be something that everybody carries, regardless of what the conclusion of the season is and what that looks like, how it comes about. Because just this time last year, it was doom and gloom. Trade everybody, fire everybody, sell everybody. Like, that's all we heard and saw in the comments, post-game, pre-game, on social media, even after games that they happen to win. Like, so what I don't,
it was like, who cares?
Sure.
Like, who cares?
Sure. And you're not far removed from having that mindset just a handful of months ago.
Yeah.
Like,
not even a year.
Don't get, like, I want fans to get lost in this season, because this is something special, especially for, again, context-wise, the build-up from last season to now seemed improbable, because it was improbable. And I don't want people to forget about that part of it while enjoying this present moment. So make sure that context is applied, because they've taken great leaps and bounds that I don't know if there's many coaches with what's been available would be able to have shifted things so swiftly in the ways in which Ida's done. That's what makes this season so special for Suns players and the coaching staff and the franchise as a whole. Now it's just about how much they can get out of it. But I just don't want the thirst for more to take away from or blind the progress that has been made, because it's been Herculean.
The context of perspective is very important. You think about last year to this.
You quoting somebody, or is that your words?
I was just basically coming straight from where you were saying. The context of perspective is very important. Thinking from last year to this year, how far they've come. And if you aren't satisfied with where this franchise is right now, and you should be, but also recognize that the thirst for more and understanding that you want to be that last team standing, based on the leap that's been made over the last 365 days, who's to say that another leap of that magnitude can't be made over the next 12 months. And I think that's the biggest takeaway, to look at where you stand right now on March 4th, 2026. Think about where you were on March 4th, 2025, and think about where you want to be on March 4th, 2027, when we're coming fresh off of hosting All-Star and all of that. That's where we'll be this time next year. Hopefully this team is toward the top, maybe 20 games over 500. And based on what we've seen over the past year, that is very much attainable. But this part of the process, don't get lost into that, as you were saying, and understand that whatever happens in the ebbs and flows over this last month and a half of the season is going to contribute and allow this team to get where you hope that they are a year from now. And I think that that's the biggest takeaway from this season through 61 games. And also, there's plenty much more to enjoy.
Big shout out to J33 Panda, who just became an MVP.
MVP.
J33 Panda, you get exclusive access to emojis, a prepaid super chat for every month that you renew your membership for just $5 a month. So it pays for itself. Plus, exclusive videos as well, not just Suns videos, but all the member-only videos on our channel. They're all in one convenient tab there, including some extra film breakdowns from Steven. Guys, any final thoughts on playoffs or bust, where the Suns are, the future schedule, anything that we've talked about today before we answer super chat and then get out of here?
Enjoy the basketball, man. This team is playing very good basketball at this present moment, and it's getting recognition from across the entire league. There's a lot of unprompted, unasked for opinions on the Suns that are being shared, because people feel like their efforts deserve way more attention than they've received so far this season. And I think that says a lot, again, back to my point that I made a minute ago about the leaps and bounds of growth that they made. You can hear from how people talk about last year's team. They might not say it verbatim, but you can hear it in the words they're choosing. The respect factor was not there. Not there at all. And that says a lot about, again, where they were versus where they are now. It takes a while to actually get reverence, but they have the respect part, which comes before you can potentially get reverence. I mean, this is a Herculean effort that this franchise has turned things around in over just a handful of months.
They've done that without the number 10 overall pick playing any significant minutes, right? They've done that without the main piece of the KD trade in Jalen Green playing over 20 games yet this season. And
rookie head coach.
Yeah, rookie head coach. And to do all of this, and again, I'll speak just from somebody who's been a fan of this team his entire life. Devin Booker did not deserve what everybody expected the Phoenix Suns to be this year and what the Phoenix Suns were the last couple of years before it, right? And there has always been this talk about, he's going to request a trade. oh, he's going to get out of here. And while I don't think any true Suns fan was truly worried about that, I do think that chatter nationally is going to die down and has died down. There wasn't a single rumor about him going down at the trade deadline, right? Because this is a good team and a good foundation, and he's clearly thrilled. You saw how happy it was on the Jalen Green lob. I don't know if I've ever seen Devin Booker happier about just a teammate than he has been about Jalen Green. He seems completely locked in, completely happy, and that's great right after you signed him to the most expensive annual average contract in NBA history. So I think that this season, for a lot of reasons, has really helped stabilize and set up this franchise for future success. But short term, let's make the damn playoffs, huh?
Don't hurt yourself.
Yeah, watch it.
Let's make the damn playoffs. I got to do this because you got mad at me for clapping the other
Eric
day.
does not listen to Ruby.
No, that put that on a t-shirt. That's true. I will read, though. I'll read this super chat from Chris. Thank you so much, Chris, who is always in here, has been here for a long time.
That Abby is hilarious.
Yes. Chris says, Gil, will Ryan Dunn be a Sun next season? And then followed up and said, or Steven too. So yeah, fuck me, I guess. I can't answer this. Gil, will Ryan Dunn be a Sun next season? I think it was because of the Ryan Dunn bias that I have.
My answer right now, which is lame, it's I don't know. I think.
That's
here we go.
losing.
But I was gonna dive in and expound upon that a little bit. We saw him in the rotation yesterday. He's had ups and downs. I think it will largely depend on what we see from Haywood Highsmith once he joins the rotation. But right now, I think that Ryan Dunn is safe. But I think that if he falls out of the rotation between now and the postseason run that we've talked about for the last hour and 10 minutes, then his spot on this team and with this franchise might be in jeopardy. But if you ask me right now, based on where things are, I think he's safe. But it's thin ice, I would say.
Yeah, I agree with what you are saying, Gil. So I won't repeat what you said. I'll take things a different route. Chris, I mentioned on a timeline yesterday, as well as during our watch along, that there's a competition brewing on the wings between Amir Coffey, Ryan Dunn, Rasheer Fleming, Haywood Highsmith. I think there's going to be open season in terms of opportunity for those four guys, and it's ironically happening while Dillon Brooks is out, which opens up more opportunity to be extended. And I think Jordan Knight and company are going to be directly assessing that faction because they need 2 to 3 of those guys to stake claim in what's going to be their playoff rotation. Those 4 guys all present some size and some versatility that helps unlock styles of play, as well as just allows for them to do their process better. Offensive rebounding, point of attack defense, extended pickup points, being able to switch, being able to cover for bigs that switch on the perimeter. Like all of those things, all 4 of those guys have shown to be able to do, and we saw it from 3 of those guys just last night. But it's about who's going to execute better, that time on task. That foursome group right there. I'm just gonna name the time on taskers. Whoever is time on task and better, that's who's gonna be getting those minutes. Who's gonna be getting those minutes come playoff time? And I think the other one also with all 4 of those guys is who can do those marginal things while also knocking down threes.
Yep.
Because they're gonna be helped off of in multiple capacities. They're gonna be asked to screen for Devin, screen for Jalen, screen for Grayson, screen for Colin to get a preferred matchup on the ball and do all of those kind of functional things at a high level. Time on task wise, I feel like that's a lot of what they're going to be asked to do. Who does that best from that group is going to be the ones that get those minutes.
So I agree. And I do think that there's a chance that Ryan Dunn is out of the playoff rotation this year. However, and this is not like Ryan Dunn bias, I'm just being realistic here. I do believe that Ryan Dunn will be on the Suns next season. And honestly, I don't know if the Suns really give up on him anytime soon for a couple of reasons. One, he's under contract control for a while. They picked up his team option for next year. That's just at $2.7 million. That's less than 2% of the cap, right? That's barely more than what he's been making this year. So they picked that up. They have another team option for him, which I think is unusual for players selected in his positions. They have another team option for the 2020, for his age 25 season, the 2027-2028 season. That's still less than 3% of the cap, right? So he's still a controllable asset at that point. And then he's a restricted free agent, right? So they have a lot of team control when it comes to Ryan Dunn. And I don't think that that's the kind of guy that a lot of other teams are going to value a lot in a trade. Maybe you throw him in there as like, we don't have first round picks to trade. We can throw, but I don't think he has the value of a first round pick anymore. So do you give up from a guy that's in your system that other players clearly like, and he does have something, right? He could be somebody that takes 2 to 3 years to develop a little bit more of an offensive game, but you keep him in the system, the same coach, the same players around him. He feels more comfortable. I would be really surprised if they moved on from him this offseason, unless it is for like a large trade that needs to have multiple assets, like a sign and trade with Mark Williams that needs a couple of more guys in it. So I'd be pretty shocked just because of the low price, to where it's like, if Ryan Dunn's not in your rotation, he's not playing. It's not like, oh man, this is your first round pick that's not playing. It's, hey, this is a guy that's making under $3 million, under 2% of our cap, that's not playing. That's not the biggest deal in the world.
Yep, I agree. And I think he also, even if he does not maybe hit his ceiling this season, he has one specific skill that this team values, and that's the ability to guard at the point of attack.
Yeah.
But do so with size. They have enough guys, Jordan Goodwin, Colin Gillespie, they can do so at somewhat undersized. You need those 6'6" to 6'8" height size guys doing that on your roster.
Awareness back at 100, Steven.
It's been there. Never shifted.
I will also say, from a local standpoint, Ryan Dunn's on billboards. Ryan Dunn is actually one of the more marketable players the Suns have, besides Jalen Green, Devin Booker, Dillon Brooks. Like, him and Oso are the only other two guys that are really in any like local ads or anything. And
That'll change soon. That'll change soon. We'll see more guys soon.
Yeah, I mean, I think so, but I think that there is kind of this investment in these two. And I don't know if his value outside of the franchise surpasses his value internally. And we've seen him not play a lot, have his role changed, and every time he hits the court, he's at least bringing the energy. That's never been a problem with him. So I don't think there's a problem like, hey, we're going to keep Ryan Dunn if, like, worst case scenario, 14th man, 13th man, end of rotation guy in the regular season. We go through some injuries like we went through this year. Ryan Dunn, you're able to play, plug him in, fans love him, he hits a three, place goes wild, everybody's happy.
I'll say real quick to that point, just the competition. Like, I talk about it in a friendly way of those guys, because all it's going to do, the Suns are going to simply be better because those guys are competing. Everybody's iron sharpening iron. Like, practice yesterday, it feels like the last like 2 to 3 weeks. There's been a lot of Ryan Dunn and Rasheer Fleming doing things together post-practice at individual workout stages, whether they're being shooting partners, whether they're working skill development and one-on-one scenarios, or playing off of catch scenarios with assistant coach Chase and Allen. Like, they're doing a lot of things together, and I think that matters as far as the continuity and chemistry being built. No one's going to be sulking at someone else getting an opportunity, because they understand that it's been fair game. And I think that all comes back full circle to the environment established and the ways in which that environment established is being upheld by Jordan Knott and company.
Any final thoughts on Ryan Dunn?
Be patient. Be patient.
Yeah. Look, I feel good about Ryan Dunn. I got a good feeling. I think he's going to be okay. It might be a down season, but players like that sometimes have down seasons, sometimes have developmental seasons. And either way, the Suns are in a good place. I think that's the big takeaway from today. Suns are in a good place. A back-to-back. Chicago, sorry, Steven, and then New Orleans, sorry, Gil. The Suns got to pick up 2 wins here. I would dare to say these next 2 are probably also up near 10s on the Suns must-win meter.
Yeah, 'cause you can't get to the rest of that schedule without handling those 2 first.
Correct. And that means we'll be handling our business as well. We'll be back here for a pregame, a watch-along, a postgame show. It's just what we do here on PHNX Suns. So you make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button as well. Thank you to all of you who showed out today on a Wednesday. Good crowd here. We appreciate everybody watching along.
Appreciate all of y'all. Thank you.
Especially after what happened last night. You know, for those of you who stuck with us, definitely don't go watch the last 3 minutes of that show. It was so bad, in a good way, so bad that Ayrton just had to end it. It said it's over.
Funnier.
Which made it a lot funnier. So again, shout out to everybody listening on audio. 5-star reviews go a long way. Shout out to Freckled Mamba behind the Mac, keeping us on track. As always, you can follow him at Freckled Mamba. You can follow Steven at StevenPG3. That's Steven with a PH because he balances us out. You can follow Gil at GilMcGregor _ You can follow me at ERIKRUBY. We'll be back tomorrow as it's Steven versus Eric, Bulls, Suns.
No, it's not.
We all silly like the mayor.